Today on Gamer's Couch. Say it. Don't just let the Force speak.
Star Wars Imperial Assault.
Hello, happy Easter. That's what people say.
Also happy Western, because we are not tending to one religion or the other.
That too.
If you are Jedi or Sith,
fine for us.
Happy
Star Wars
Anakin's Death Day?
Wow. Oh, yeah. Off to a weird start today. Anyways, it's Easter, and once you're back from hanging out with your friends and family or searching for some Easter treats, lean back, enjoy, have the chocolate and I don't know what kind of liquor is normal in your country when it comes to Easter parties, and enjoy the Gamer's Couch. We are not gonna talk about rabbits and eggs and whatnot, but about Star Wars. We
will try to make as many religious references while talking about this game as possible.
Do you want me to count?
No.
Good. Because
they can count. I mean, that's
okay.
That's why you guys are here for.
Send us a note in the comment section of how many references you think he does. So
you're probably
right anyways.
Then I can give you a count of how many I think I did. So
yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, count and let us know. Anyways, if you are new to this kind of videos, we do talk about a board game every Sunday. That's why it's a Gamer's Couch. Don't interrupt me. Sip your coffee and be nice.
Most of the time we're haggling each other.
Yeah, we're bickering, because that's what you do when you're married.
And occasionally we talk about a board game, yeah.
Yes, and we go into rules and gameplay first, and then we follow that up with anything we liked and disliked about the game, and wrapping the video up with experiences and funny stories we might have had playing the game. Now, what I want to say? Oh, I forgot.
Like, subscribe, goodbye. Oh,
I forgot.
We did not talk about.
I wanted to say something and I just. Anyways, I think I'm just
gonna. This is not the intro you've been looking for.
Yeah. I'm just gonna sip the coffee. The double big.
You could tell them the structure of this show, for example.
I did. I just did. Oh, yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say. Haha. Just a note for you, the likes and dislikes section is the most interesting part for the two of us, just because we don't know what the other things about the game until we have the game on the couch. So there you might have some
for our
funny
own
discussions
sanity,
and whatnot.
We try not to talk to each other throughout the day. We only talk on Sundays in front of a camera, because that's what married people do, obviously.
So I heard.
Yes.
Anyways, let's get started and try to have this video under 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Last week we didn't succeed.
No, I think this will be fairly quick. Well, just a couple words up front. Imperial Assault is a dungeon crawler in the Star Wars universe where one player plays the Imperial side and up to 4 other players play the Rebel side. So you can either play it 1-on-1 or 1 versus 4. Given that the game is very modular and has so many rules that are attached to specific items or specific campaigns and scenarios, it's not actually really worth going too deep into specific rules, because you will be looking them up and learning them while playing. And I, in fact, think that this is one of the major draws of the game, to explore that entire rule set and entire game world, not only in terms of narrative, but also in terms of what you can do to interact with other things. And the game surprises you here and there as well. And for other obvious reasons, I won't talk about any actual campaign missions, and we will try very hard not to spoiler anything, because if you want to play this, Oh, let's put it this way. If you are into Star Wars and think that this might be something for you, probably why are you watching us? Why are you not already out there and playing this game?
Because we are maybe entertaining.
No,
No, we're not.
No. No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the game starts typically by no, you have the.
Oh, I have the important stuff here.
The stuff in. No, I just need one of those. So right away you will find 3 manuals in here. One is a quick start learn to play guide. One is the actual campaign guide, which is the storybook of every mission that's going on with every campaign, and also a reference guide. There's a 4th one in there that goes for a different gameplay mode. We'll talk about this later, not now. Not now. So if you want to play a game, you figure out which mission to play, and I'll talk about mission structure a little bit later. So the game works, you look at this and you will find a map and have to set that up again with some mission intro and some interesting things to do. You will go with these wonderful tiles that are pretty much just puzzle pieces that you can put together to make elaborate dungeons for everybody to go into. And there's a lot of those, so there's huge areas theoretically possible. Although so far we have only seen stuff that nicely fits onto a table for 4 to 5 players, surprisingly. So that works out. Also, you have some story fluff in here, and pretty much as in a movie almost, the campaign starts you off with giving a setting and giving some purpose to what your rebels are going to do and how they try to strike against the Empire. A nice thing about these campaign missions is it is not set what the next mission will be, because that is determined by your success. So if the rebels win a mission, or at least get to the win condition for that particular mission, a different mission might then follow up on top of that than if what happens if the Imperial player wins, or sometimes the time runs out. Sometimes there's more than 2 different missions to branch out from to get to something else, or to introduce a side mission. In general, you will keep track of your entire campaign on here, where it will always start with the introductory mission called Aftermath, and then there's alternating set of side missions and story missions. Story missions being the ones determined by the campaign, as I said, and side missions are drawn from a stack of cards, of mission cards, and the rebel players may decide which side mission to follow up on. Which makes it for some interesting things, because those side mission deck is created by side missions for each of the characters in play, like the rebel players' characters, as well as generic missions, and sometimes even forced missions played by the Imperial player. In reference to other games, particularly actually to video games, you will see that this is not unlike something like what you would get out of a role-playing game with companion missions, where you play a character, but that character has a very specific companion mission that gives some more insight about his character, or gives him a particular piece of equipment and makes them better. Which brings us to who stars in this game. Will you be playing as Han Solo and the likes? And, well, maybe good for you or bad for you? The answer is no. You can play with them, but those only show up in side roles as allies throughout the game. You won't be able to play directly all the time as one of them. You will be playing either as Mac Ashkaray, or Gideon Argus, or Diala Pasir, or Jinodam, or Garkon, or Fan Cygnus. Never heard of them? That's good, because that's actually your character now. And if you're playing with those, you can develop stories around them, and there's no heavy ties about what should they be able to do, whom do they know, and so on. As I said, you can win allies. For example, there's a mission in the base game where you can win Luke Skywalker as an ally, and you can bring him to missions and control him almost like a fifth player. And he has his own set of special abilities, but that's not your character. He is just there to support you in whatever rebel stuff you're doing. By the way, the timeline for this game, or for most of the campaign missions in the base game, is set after the first movie.
Haha. The real first movie.
So it's set after episode 4 and before episode 5. So the Death Star has just been destroyed by Luke Skywalker. Spoilers.
Only 30 years after the movie came out. Wow,
yeah,
spoiler?
Probably, yeah. But before the Empire actually starts striking back. You have some characters that are familiar, but it's not. You don't have to worry about walking into an entire full set of expanded universe and not knowing heads or tails across that. This is setting wise. I think this is a very good compromise for people who really like Star Wars, who are at least into the movies, and like to see more adventures in the Star Wars universe without being forced to have some really heavy background knowledge about the expanded Star Wars universe or stuff like the Old Republic and so on. The Imperial player has a set of cards, so-called deployment cards. He can play that range from different units, but they're usually not named. Some of them are. There's the obvious Darth Vader in here as well that you may play. There's some guys like General Weiss in here. So there are named characters on the Imperial side, but the Imperial player is more of a dungeon master than of a true player kind of guy who has just one character he focuses and obsesses about. He, after all, represents the entirety of the Empire, and it helps if you speak in British accents and then command people around and say something like "Call me Commander Tarkin" or something like that. So to start a game, you pick your mission or start with the introductory mission. You set up the thing. Everybody picks a rebel player, and if you count it with me, there's more than 4 rebel players. So there's some replay value just by going with other heroes or other different setups of heroes. Each hero has a specialty like close combat or ranged combat. Some are not that good at combat at all, but are really good at commanding other people around. But that could also be a personal trait of the person who's playing them. So you set up your group of differently skilled rebel players and try to make the most out of it. Pretty much like the movie with where you have a scoundrel, a Jedi Knight, and some other guys. As I said, all those campaign missions in here tell you how to win the mission, and after you win the mission, you see either the rebels take away the victory and they get some bonus points for that. And with bonus points, I mean there's experience points in here that you carry forward going through the entirety of the campaign. There's credits that you get. You are allowed to buy equipment for those credits. You are also allowed to sell equipment and to get better as the campaign progresses. While the Imperial player also has more resources available as the campaign progresses, is able to bring more interesting units, buy specific orders he can play during the game to just make the life more miserable of each rebel player. You can pretty much play this heads-on in terms of if you're really competitive, and everybody's really competitive. You can. I'm pretty sure there's equal amount to win the game for both sides. It's not easier for the Imperials nor the Rebels. Obviously, in terms of if you enjoy the storytelling and you are the Imperial player, you should well, think about where you want to go with the game. If you want to have everybody win and feel awesome about that, or crush them each time at each corner and just make them feel miserable every time. That's possible.
I'm not saying anything. That goes into the experiences. Third section, honey.
Another beautiful thing about this is, as any other dungeon crawler, a game that comes with a lot of miniatures. Now, since I already started painting and modifying our miniatures, warning, heads up, these don't look like that if the game comes with the miniatures. They are usually in grey plastic or yellowish plastic. And not looking like these guys. So these are already fully painted, but that also gives you a good idea of how detailed these minis are, because they have enough detail to be painted and to look nice. Another thing I did with these is I replaced the base with some clear acrylic thing, so if you have these beautiful boards down here, that you can actually see the board that these guys are standing on, which makes a nice looking, impressive few piece. There's like the bigger guys like Darth Vader, and even though I hope you can see him, even though he is in black, you can actually make out a lot of detail on those. So very, very nice to look at. As for the Rebel players...
First, let me show you the smallest mini in the whole thing. It's really, really cool. And nicely painted.
There's a lot of pretty...
It hardly fits on one of the big board sections.
I'm trying.
You are not prepared.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard to get them all on here so that people can actually see that. So these are the heroes, and again, very, very nicely detailed. It's a lot of fun playing with those because you can imagine yourself in the situation of the fight and identify yourself with those characters. Playing against each other. As Sarah showed you, the ATSTs, the big guy, there's some other bigger creatures that take up more space.
Can we have that as a pet at home?
No, I'm not very fond of cats.
Was worth a try.
And just if you really wanted to, there's a fantastic guide to painting a lot of those by a guy called Sorastro on the YouTubes and Board Game Geek. Can highly recommend following him. It's very, very helpful, and it's not very difficult to get those painted. Obviously, it's time consuming, but if you really enjoy a game like this, I can only recommend doing it because it adds a lot of the enjoyment while in the game. But again, there's nothing wrong playing with the game as it comes out of the box. The actual gameplay itself usually works around, you have you guys moving around. Each player has at least one activation each turn, and on an activation you can choose 2 actions to do. And those actions can be, you can move, and obviously each character has different speeds, so they can move. Actually, if you can see that, those are little squares on here. Each square is 1 movement point. So if you want to move, you just count the squares and move your character over. Another option is to interact. There will be objects on the game board, like terminals or doors to open, which look like these. So there's some 3-dimensionality to the entire thing, except for the figures, just by having those stick out. Not as much as, let's say, something like Space Crusade, where you have actual walls in there. It's more hinted at by black lines on the boards to play with that. The other actions, or the main thing of the game, is obviously combat. So you can attack another character. The heroes are the only ones that are allowed to attack twice on a single round. While the Imperial players, guys, usually are only allowed to attack once and then do any other action like move or so shooting and moving back, or advancing, shooting and then moving back. Something like that would be possible. The attacks itself are done by rolling dice. Now, this is a Fantasy Flight game, so there's... Try to get them all.
So unprepared.
I almost failed. So, as a fantasy flight game, you will find a lot of colorful dice that have symbols you've never seen before. So you will try to figure those out. But the game is rather simple. There's simple symbols on here that are hits. Then there's ones that are called surges, or you can count them as energy. You may spend them to trigger special abilities. And then there's defense dice, which, one of those triangles reduces combat damage by 1. And there's this symbol that counters those surge symbols. And there's even a white die that is a little bit weaker, but comes with a magical icon that says you dodge the attack entirely, you don't take any damage, but only wusses use the white die. So I don't like that very much.
And now you know whom he plays.
The Imperial guys also have the white dice. Some of them.
Yeah, but you would like them only if...
I like the heavy troops, yes. Yes. There's some...
Yeah, it's just in your character. Yeah.
Force choking while on video. Nobody can actually... Well, that would be a good try trying to murder someone.
Same thought! Yeah. It's like, CSI Dortmund would really have a problem figuring out who murdered me. So if anything happens to me, it was him with a force choke.
Characters themselves have health. If they lose health, you flip their character side over, and then they have some reduced abilities. If they lose enough health to also go down on the second side, they retreat from combat. So they actually never die, but they have to retreat and are out of the game. We have not seen that yet, because obviously you could focus fire on a single player, but we haven't seen someone like going mid-game, go out of the game and watch the rest of the game. No, you did not go out of the game.
I was end of the game.
Yeah, mid-game.
I was close to end game.
Mid-game. You were not out mid-game.
No, but close to the end.
It was the last round. That's not close to end. That's the end of the game.
No,
that was the last. Never mind. So
it was 2 rounds before the end.
The flow of the game would then be the rebels move, and alternating between rebel players and Imperial players. Rebels move 1 character, Imperial player moves or activates 1 deployment card. Those deployment cards can be multiple characters, but it could also be just a single one, like, let's say, Darth Vader. Once you activated or exhausted your deployment card, because you may not tap that, because that's a different company calling that tapping the card. But once you activated your deployment card, you have to wait until the next round to use them again. So you have to make some strategic decisions, specifically as... actually for both sides, about who goes first. There's no set rule in stone where it says you always have to use that character first and then that one. Sometimes you want to lure out other characters to move first and then be able to attack them or surround them, or do some other interesting stuff. And in terms to health management, as I said, characters have life points. If they are reduced, they're out. Imperial Forces are immediately out. They have no flip side. But the Imperial player may reinforce the troops or redeploy troops at each turn. So there's actually a neat little tracker. Again, it's a Fantasy Flight game. There's a tracker that keeps track of in which round you are, and also the threat you as the Imperial player poses or that the rebels pose. It doesn't matter. Threat is a resource you get each round, depending on how far in the campaign you are. And you may spend threat to either deploy new guys by having a deployment card on hand and saying, I'm deploying new stormtroopers, and that brings 3 new stormtroopers into the game. Or you may reinforce an already existing squad by saying, the rebels already killed 2 of my 3 stormtroopers, I now may spend 2 points of threat to add another one, or 4 points to add 2 to up back to the maximum of 3 that's given on the deployment card. The other resource that are mostly is for the rebel players is stress. So each player has an endurance stat, and stress is something that the rebel players can use to do more stuff than they would typically be able to, like walk a little bit further, or most actions or special actions they can do they can spend stress to do interesting things, like make the attack more devastating or protect against an Imperial attack and all that jazz. Stress is almost like a stun kind of. Well, it's not. There's a specific mechanic in there that's stunning, but it's like mental damage, and the normal health is physical damage. They can heal stress by resting, and if they have no stress at all, they will start resting. Resting will heal physical damage. But you can kind of incapacitate rebel players by draining their stress or draining their endurance, keeping them from doing all those special abilities. And that's pretty much all you need to know to get started. There's not much more in terms of real gameplay interaction. As I said, most of the things you will learn. There's specific combat conditions in the game that get inflicted by certain weapons or specific attacks, where you can have another character bleed all the time, where they have to stop and heal to get rid of the bleeding. Otherwise, they will be getting new stress each turn, and so on. There's focus actions, or at least focus conditions, that make you shoot better, a whole bunch of equipment, loot crates that you can open, and even some commendations you may get. But again, that's very much depending on the scenario you're playing, and not a generic thing that's available in each individual thing. The other thing, as I said, that's interesting is the campaign structure. As I said, you start with the introductory mission, and then you pick one of the story missions. And each campaign mission comes with a card that you would then hand to the rebel players, saying this is the next story mission that you're playing. So let's say you your next mission is called Under Siege, and then it has a little bit of fluff text on here telling you what actually happened after you won or lost your mission, and then it says go to this story mission Under Siege on page blah 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 in the core game. Bring new stuff in there, which also gives a nice way to expanding this game by adding in new of these story cards and just a map scenario to set up and play. My understanding is we don't have any of these expansion packs, but my understanding is that there's that for characters you buy, there will be these story cards also in there, and some scenario descriptions that not only bring these characters or make them available either as allies to the rebel player or as troops for the Imperial player, but also coming with a little bit of story fluff and setting in there. Obviously, there's also, I think, Fantasy Flight just announced the big box expansion that's coming soonish. That will probably have a little bit more in there. For example, more tiles or more of some of the equipment stuff, probably. Whereas the little expansions literally just have the miniatures in there and maybe a couple of cards. Yeah, that's pretty much it about the game, I guess. Unless you think that I forgot something that is crucial.
Nope.
There's a second game in this box as well, which we personally haven't played yet, but I can already see very much that this is very easily done. Because this game comes with a skirmish mode, which is, if you're familiar with tabletop wargaming, a way to play this game on without having very much of a story campaign structure around that, but just saying, I bring these characters on my side, you bring those characters on your side, and now we are battling each other over an objective or who wins first. Whereas not like the campaign where the Imperial player gains threat and is able to bring up more and more troops tailored to a story scenario. Here you decide up front what you want to bring to the table, and then you just battle. It's it's a skirmish. So this comes with rules for that, and all those miniatures can also be used in that context, fighting against each other, which brings almost infinite replayability, because then you don't have to play a campaign and say, oh, I already know the story mission, I know what happens in turn, blah blah blah, there's no surprise here anymore.
I'm not gonna do this and that action because this and that will happen then.
In the skirmish, it is your tactical prowess against the tactical prowess of whoever you're fighting against. So that's there. It's very much it's more I would compare it more like a game like X-Wing, which is obviously also a skirmish miniature game in the same universe by the same company, but without the heavy story-focused stuff. So it's more along those lines.
Ta-da! More like that. I guess you want to sip the coffee while I say what I liked and disliked, right? Yeah, that
is not
was
the opinion you're looking for. Yes.
So, where do I start? Let's start with the one thing that I'm not too happy with, and again, it's a Fantasy Flight game, so I'm not happy with the insert. And when we unpacked the game, I was like, again, but why did I think that it would be any different than the usual Fantasy Flight inserts? So that was the one thing that I'm not too happy with, but we can work around that. You already saw some of the trays that hubby made out of foam board, and they fit in there nicely. So the box is deep enough to make it happen.
This is a huge box and a bunch of stuff in there. The inserts I made are from another guide on the internet, and I think the easiest way to give you that, I will send the link to the painting guide by Sorastro to her, to put it there, so you can actually find it. And I will do the same with the foam board building guide, which it was super helpful, very easily done. I think it took me all in all maybe 2 hours to build the insert, and it is totally worth it. It's,
very much so.
You have stuff that sets this up, makes it very easy to just unpack it. It is almost then like a toolbox that you just open up and pick stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, you could also go with the Ziploc bags, but there are so many components in this game that you probably will be spending too much time unpacking all of the Ziplocs if you not just go with the trays, have them on the side of the table, and then pick whatever you need for the game when you need it for the game. So that was But again, it's Fantasy Flight, and I'm not gonna, well, whine about their inserts too much anymore. But that was the only thing that I was not too happy with. I was very, very happy once unpacking with the quality and the style of the components. So I really like the style of the artwork. It's very consistent throughout the whole game. I really like the tiles. They're gorgeous. So it gets you in different kinds of terrains very much. And the minis are very, very lovely. Especially when they're painted and have a clear base. You get a different kind of feel for the game, and you can really use the visibility of the terrain through the base to your advantage, to just have everything look more real, and helps you engaging into the story. When you're a story person like me, you're always big on these kind of little things in a game that just where you just go the extra mile. I'm also very, very happy with the paint job you did on all the minis. Lovely done. And it makes such a difference. We played the first scenario with most of the minis not being painted because he was still working on getting them colored, and it felt a bit more flat, but you could engage enough into the game and just have fun. But with the painted minis, it's even more. So thank you for painting. I also really, really like just the way the cards feel, the size of the different cards. I like the character sheets. I like the art style done on them. And there's a lot of tokens that you need for the game, but it's not overwhelmingly many tokens. So it's just about right to have tiny knickknacks that you gotta need for the game to keep counters and have stuff be marked on the board. But it's not like in other games of other designers where you could, I don't know, build a wall with all of the components, and I'm talking about Caverna here. So yeah, it's just the right amount. And once we had everything ready and set up, I gotta say, I didn't read the manual, so I can't say anything to that because he's the Imperial player and he's pretty much our game master. Now, I really, really like the kind of games where one person is the game master and you have like a campaign where you play different kinds of games throughout the weeks or months, depending, with your set of friends, where everybody has a character and they're coming back the week after, they level up, and they don't know anything about the game or what will go on, but only one person who plays against them sets up the game, guides the game. I really like it. It's kind of a combination of a role-playing game, a fantasy game, and a traditional war game. And I really, really like that. I come to the table Sunday nights. I get my character, I know her, I level her up, I give her nice equipment, but I don't know what's gonna happen. And I can't even read it from his face. If there's an evil grin or something, no, he doesn't, he has like the mask, I'm the game master, I'm gonna show you. Right. So it's really surprising every night. The guys that play with us enjoyed as well, just the way the game is set up, how we all come to the table and what we know or might not know, how we can form our strategies, how or what we need to know, what we don't need to know. And there's very few things that you have to know as mechanics or as possibilities, or what you could do to actually play the game. It's three things that you gotta know, and you can play a whole game, a whole scenario. It's really, really lovely.
It's certainly something that you can easily play with your, I'd say, 8-year-old,
yeah,
10-year-old child, and they will also enjoy.
Yeah, so
pretty much the hell out of this.
Yeah,
You never played stuff like EuroQuest or
No.
Space Crusade or
No.
StarQuest or as we call it, which is German for Space Crusade. It's called StarQuest.
No, we have the box, but there's components missing. We just recovered those from your parents' cellar, so we might play that, but I never did. However, it's just this kind of game is just it reminds me of Mansions of Madness, of course, because it's pretty much the same mechanic. But it also has.
I think it's even the same designer.
I don't know. It's down there. It's on the heavy.
Sorry if I think it's from Corey Kunitska. So I think.
I don't know.
I think I saw his name on. Well, he does a lot of Fantasy Flight stuff. So.
Yeah, but I really like that kind of mechanic where you have the co-op component and you have the playing competitive component, because one guy is singled out and has to get beaten up in that regard. Sometimes he does the same with the rebels, but that is... Anyways, I really like that mechanic, and I like that you also... it combines a few games that I do like a lot, which is the Mansions of Madness. It combines also a bit of the Elder side for the Rebel side, because you go in against, not the Elders, but against the Empire, so you all go in with your dice to do something, and it has the combat feel of X-Wing for me. Because we don't know what you do, and you can only know so much of what we do, though we talk on the table about a tiny bit about our strategy.
I'm surprised you didn't say Mice and Mystics, because
it's a story game, yeah.
No, because that is also
game,
also a game where you fight with dice and.
Yeah, but that's more the campaign mode that I would see there. It's not about the dice and fighting against somebody, because we are all on one side and we play a children's fairy tale book. That's, in my mind, that's just different.
One could argue that Star Wars is also a children's
It's not for children, it's for adults. It's the adult fantasy fairy tale book. It's good. But anyways, I just really like it. I love to have it on the table, and I'm very, very happy that our friends love it as much and come over every Sunday expecting for us to play a new campaign. Mm-hmm. So I really like it. One thing that I'm okay with, but that has to come with a game like that, is the setup time for the Imperial player. You really gotta set everything up before your friends come over. It takes quite a bit, maybe 30 minutes to set up one campaign. And if everybody's sitting on the table already and chattering away and kind of like wanting to go, it could kill the buzz a bit. So I just recommend you set it up before everybody comes over, and that's the only thing. But it has to be with games like that. And there's no other way. And so it's fine.
Specifically, the setup itself is actually not that bad. The thing that is just a bit annoying are the map tiles. I guess there's a system to how they are named. So each tile has a little number on it, which is probably not readable for you at all. So this says number 8 with the icon of the base set, and there's an A side and a B side. So if you take a look at the campaign guide, let's say the first mission, the Aftermath, it will then down here list all the glare, and you won't be able to see it. So down here it just lists, these are all the tiles you need, and then you will start.
Then you rummage.
Okay, which is this? No, and even if you're looking with 4 people at the same time, it's maybe it feels longer to me than it actually is. But that's something that I'm getting annoyed by something like that. But obviously, someone has to set that up, and that's the price you pay for having such a modular map set up with all the different possibilities to do a whole bunch of different missions. Yeah.
Well, the last thing I want to add about what I like is that it feels very balanced between the power of the rebels and the Imperial Force, just because you roll dice, and you can be really shitty rolling dice, or you can be really, really good. So, meaning that he moves in his turn 3 minis instead of 1 when it comes, for example, to the stormtroopers, it doesn't mean that he can do that much more damage than one rebel could do, just because you have 2 dice and everybody is defending. And it could be that, as it might have happened in the game, and that might have inspired an art journal page, that he was really shitty with rolling dice for one set of stormtroopers, and we thought they dozed off. Maybe.
Who would have thunk that stormtroopers end up shooting a lot and not hitting at all?
Yeah, it's not like in the movies, right?
No.
Anyways, so it feels very balanced between the 2 forces on the table, and that goes for the 2-player game as well as the 4-player or /5-player game. So we had both, and it didn't feel as if one side was stronger than the other. So kudos to the balancing out of the game, and that's what I think. So now you go.
Yeah.
No, you don't go, but go.
Yeah, it's really hard to say anything negative for me about this, because this is kind of such a throwback to me being a kid, and it's like Hero Quest was the first game I got and played that with my parents, and really enjoyed it. When I enjoyed sitting down, being the game master, actually making campaigns with that, painting all those little things, and back then that was not using a brush, but some Playmobil markers, which
we might show that at one point.
It ended up looking horrible, very horrible. But
it's abstract.
No, so the in terms of components, I would not have painted those if those minis were not awesome looking. Those rival in quality some of the other minis I have from actual tabletop games. Well, it's obviously not as far out as resin stuff, but yes, these are tremendously detailed, and even stuff like our Wookiee friend here was quite easy to do and to paint, and it's just fun to have that at your disposal, and as well as all the other components like the map tiles. The card artwork, as far as I can tell, I think is some may be familiar if you're already playing the Star Wars card game, or X-Wing, or pretty much any other Star Wars game from Fantasy Flight games. So that might be disappointing. I don't mind it at all in this thing, because the cards are actually the thing I'm least looking at in this entire box. Well, as you said, the inserts were kind of, but yeah, I mean, having a full set of inserts for this is quite a lot to produce, so I can see why they didn't do it, and at least it comes in a nice big box, so that
you have the chance to make something up on your own that will fit everything nicely. Yeah. So
I also have to agree with what you said concerning the balance of the game. I've read online that for some groups it's more lopsided on one side or the other, which kind of also might be a good argument to that it is actually balanced, because I've seen rants about the Imperials being too strong as well as the Rebels. For us in our play, at least to me, it felt like always being a pretty close call. It's not like at the middle of the game everybody knew who was going to win because one side got steamrolled by the other or something like that.
Not at all.
And that is, it's really great if those games are tense, and there's still, even if you lose, there's still the joy from, okay, so what's the next mission going to be? And I think we will probably play this even once we get through the campaign, just with the alternate missions to see all the other missions that we haven't seen, maybe switching up characters to see the new side missions, going in. And if we are finished with that, then probably there's more than just the expansion that got announced now out there. So there's...
Yeah, and at one point we got a switch, at least in the 2-player campaign, that you play the Rebels and I play the Imperial Forces. At least for one scenario, I want to try the dark side.
Yeah, I think...
Because I usually play the Rebels second,
I think
not
that
first.
For sake of consistency, I think it might be a good thing, because I know Styx also wanted to try out playing the bad guys.
Yeah, you can do the 4 players.
That might also be a way to do the other side of the campaign.
Yeah,
like
that somebody else is the...
Bizarro campaign, where you play all the missions you didn't play, but have all the rebels now being alternating Empire play.
Yeah, I mean, usually with any kind of Star Wars game, I play the Imperial Forces first, and this is the only game where I'm first playing the Rebels and not the Imperial Forces. So at one point, you gotta give me the Sith side to play, at least in the 2-player campaign. Styx can go in the 4-player.
I might be alone with that opinion, but I always think of these games as the guy who plays the dungeon master or who plays the evil guy is not only there to beat the other players and just there as a challenge, but also has a job of some storytelling to do.
And you have to form the experience that everybody has on that night. So thinking about where do you set up which deployment, where do you reinforce? Are you going to reinforce? Are you crushing one person or are you spreading damage? Things like that. That's more a game master thing and not you winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's kind of the minor decisions, those actual tactical decisions where to deploy what. And I have to admit, I'm not putting super much thought into that when we are playing this. But I know from, as I said, from back being a kid, those surprises that come up in the missions, those are usually the memorable moments that you might remember 5 years, 6 years, 10 years later. I mean, if you're playing this with your kid, yes, it might be cool for them to be the dungeon master, but if you're the parent, well, probably on the first play, make sure that you're the person who's the dungeon master who is also bringing the story surprises and is a little bit more versed on making the entire thing a coherent story experience, because that's what will be remembered later on. It does a fantastic job at that. And well, as I said, with the balancing and everything feeling tight, there's engagement, everything looks good. So this is very very difficult to top. Or you can obviously expand, but there's not much that I can actually complain about this at all.
So let's go into rating before we tell all the funny stories and experiences we had in the different kind of games that I took.
Those experiences were not funny.
They were.
They were not funny. They were not funny.
Your force is not working on me. I'm immune to your force. Don't rub your temples. It's not gonna help.
Force migraine.
Yeah, I'm going to use that term in the future. Anyways, how's your rating of the game?
This actually does get 3 out of the rule of 2. So
that's a good one. Does it also get a purple sword?
No, there's no.
The dude has no.
There's no Samuel L. Jackson tie-in.
Okay. Oh well, doesn't he look? With beard? No.
No, that's more like Father Frost or some.
If he has a sunburn.
Christmas.
Christmas figure.
So 3 Sith out of the rule of 2.
Yeah, well, my rating from 1 to awesome, it is 10.5, which is awesome and a half, and the and a half is because you
15?
painted. No, 10 and a half.
Half 10. So
10.5. Oh. Jesus Christ. Can I have the nice husband, please? So, and 9.5 is because you painted the minis.
Yay, me.
Yay, me.
Also, I built the inserts. So it's 11.
No. It would have been a 9.5 without the inserts, so you got the .5 to the awesome and then build out. Anyways, let's go into funny stories and experiences, because they exist, although this grumpy figure here thinks they're not. So, we first played the game as a 2-player campaign, me being, again, the rebels and you being the Imperial Force. And we played one scenario where whenever the Imperial Forces couldn't open the door because they have no thumbs and like that. And the rebels were able to do that, and when you are just one player versus one player, the rebels get you get 2 characters, and each character has double activation. So the goal of the campaign was to get into the compound and do something, and you gotta go through that door. So I did. What I did not know was once the first person passed the door,
that's a story.
Something would happen that would separate the rebel forces. Which, was surprising.
In front of a big ass cannon and multiple stormtroopers.
And can you please get the rocket out, because it's not
it's not a rocket.
We call it a rocket. Sticks and I said it's a rocket because it's
no
so
rocket.
big.
This is just a.
But we call him that. So this dude is really, really strong.
Mounted a turbo laser.
This dude is really strong, and my lovely girl had to stand there in front of him and kill him at one point, and that was really, really difficult. And this was pretty much the moment where I saw an evil grin on this face, and I thought, oh my god, no, I'm going to lose again. The first Star Wars round I'm going to lose, as always, but I'm the rebels this time, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so and tying into that was also related to the Stormtroopers thing, because that scout with the turbo laser came out and did a metric ton of damage. That's a lot in Europe. Only in Europe. Did a ton of damage, and then the Stormtroopers came in to finish the job, and it's like fumble. I cannot hit the wall I'm standing in front of, and it's like, huh?
Yeah, you were angry, but
now I know where Vader gets his strength. It's his anger. It fuels all the force within him. It's the anger across the idiocracy, whatever. The stupidness of the Stormtroopers not being able.
They can be really difficult to play, which actually the guy with the rocket was...
Who?
The guy with the rocket. The cannon, the rocket. You know, the same dude. In the 4-player game, he was shooting at G big time, and he does a lot of damage if he hits. And G was rolling the white die. Oh. He almost left the table. He was so mad because G rolled the I'm going to evade everything side of the dice in like 3 times in a row. So it's
a 1 in a 6 chance. There's only one evade everything side on the die.
Well done, G. Great job. And we were laughing so hard at the table, and he was like, "This can't be possible. What the?"
Yeah, I actually forced him to roll the die again to prove to me that he's not faking it.
Yeah, and it was really, really, really cool. So from then on, whenever we have to roll the white die for Luke, which we got, or whom we got as an ally meanwhile, it's G's job. He has to do that. Six and I, we won't touch the white die if it comes to really important defense moves there. It's G's job. Also, it was, I got hit in the last game, and I, was...
incapacitated
and went on a retreat on vacation. It was second to last. It was not the last round. I had to sit one out.
But it was not mid-game.
No, but you said the mid-game on the end of the sentence, so how could I know there was that one word coming up, but it wasn't at the end. Anyways, I went on a nice Star Wars retreat, while the commander and the dude with the boob brain were still fighting, and I had lovely cocktails there. No? Did some sightseeing. I did see all of the pieces of the Death Star being floating in space.
Did the vacation on the moon of Yavin 4.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And then you said, that's no moon.
That's no moon. Too big. Anyways, no, so I died once, and that was a different kind of experience. It was the experience where that sentence always comes at the table, which is, husband, be nice, otherwise you sleep in the bathtub. So it didn't help, he still killed me, and he, didn't sleep in the bathtub though. Anyways, that was also very, very lovely, and it's just every game experience-wise was really tense. Like, we play for winning. At least the rebels do. I don't know what you do.
I play for making every other player feel miserable. So
you did not succeed. You
going
succeeded
full
once.
Sith on.
Yeah, you won one campaign.
Actually,
we won 2 campaigns.
The very first mission was what I won by accident.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what do you mean I won? It's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens.
Yeah. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often. Not against that formidable rebel force that will fight you tonight as well. Yeah. Once the guys come over. So I guess that pretty much is the time to wrap up the video so that I can edit and everything before the guys come over and we can play and kill his characters.
Yeah.
So I say and you don't, or do you have anything to add? No,
I have something to add.
What?
Goodbye.
I knew it. Yeah, just for all time's sakes. Now, for the reals, thank you very much for watching and listening to us ramble about a very, very great game. If you have any questions, any comments, like how many religious things he did,
I didn't do any. I restrained myself.
Why did you give it away? Oh, for God's sakes. Can the rebels do the force choke? No, they can't. Yeah. Anyways. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to have any kinds of comments in the comment section, ask us questions, do whatever. We would love that. Also, share it with other friends or gamers or whomever you know if you think they should see this video, because sharing is caring. Also, please like and or subscribe, do both, whatever. That would really help us out, and we see you next Sunday on the couch with a new game. Until then, have a very good Sunday, happy Easter again, and goodbye. No, that was not the way you do it. This is the way you do it.
And for those who dislike...
Sorastro.
What, you dislike this?
Yeah, I dislike... No. No. Computer says no. Set up the table. Let's play.
Goodbye.
Bye. Ow! Ow. Nip bump.